I write down the names of the people that have changed the trajectory of my life in one way, shape, or form, right? You mentioned having a coach. It's funny that you mentioned having a coach in regards to the golfing, but you also had a coach in regards to profession, right? So along our lives, the people that I connect with, I realize that we all have coaches in one way, shape, or form. And we don't only have one. We have multiple coaches, right? So when I did a little bit of stand-up comedy and I did voice acting, I had a voice coach, I had a speech coach, I had a writing coach, I had a real estate coach, of course, had a running coach because I run a lot. I've lost like 100 pounds in my weight loss journey. So I had a running coach, I had a nutrition coach, I had a fitness coach, right? That's not the same as the running coach. So it's just something to think about as far as where you are in your life outside of real estate. I know we're going to talk about real estate here heavily, but I also want to let you know that real estate isn't the only thing in the world, right? You talked about purpose, right? I don't think selling a house, I'll just make an assumption that selling a house was your actual purpose, right? Selling the houses was your means to get to your purpose, perhaps, right? Selling your houses is what funds your purpose, F-U-N-D. Although it could be fun, F-U-N, but it funds your purpose. So just something to think about as we kind of go down this road. I only have a few minutes to talk about open houses because this is normally like a 7-day seminar, the open house thing. But I did take some high point notes for you guys. So I want to talk about the first thing. I don't actually talk about this too much outside of my coaching circle, but I'm going to give it to you guys all today. And this is called the hierarchy of outcomes. If you write anything down from what I'm talking about, write this down. Hierarchy of outcomes. Okay? Hierarchy of outcomes. If you get this,
the last word.
outcome, O-U-T-C-O-M-E-S. Yes. Yeah, no worries. I appreciate you let me know you couldn't hear. Okay. If you get this down, this will help you. I'm telling you, it'll help you every day if you understand this. Here's what I mean by hierarchy of outcome. No matter what you do, know what you expect out of that in at least 3 or 4 levels. And I'm gonna put that together with open houses right now. If you're gonna bother to hold an open house, a hierarchy of outcome would look like this. I'll start by picking on Eric. What is the best possible outcome of an open house that you host?
Best possible outcome would be to sell the home.
To sell the home to who?
To a buyer that I represent.
Where? Where did you find that buyer?
From the open house.
From that open house.
Correct.
Okay, I think we could all agree that if you're holding an open house on Saturday, noon to 3, and at 12:02, a buyer walks in, says, I want this house, whatever they're asking, and you're gonna write it up for me. Probably the perfect outcome, right? Cool, so we can put that at the top of the hierarchy of outcomes. What would be second to that? So let's follow the buyer. He doesn't want that house, but he still likes the cut of your jib, so he wants you to represent him in this purchase of a different house, right? So it's maybe a secondary outcome. What's a tertiary outcome? Well, I found some buyers, but I did sell the house to a different buyer, but I didn't represent this. I still sold the house. Right? These are all hierarchy of outcomes. And then you can fill it up as much as you want, like from 1 to 10, doesn't matter to me, but make sure you have what I call the baseline outcome. And this is where your days will start to really make sense. In whatever you do, you have a hierarchy of outcomes. That way, when you go home, you can say, that was a great day. I put in an awesome day. I had a wonderful day. That day was okay. How many times do you get home and you have no idea? A couple things. 1, what you did. 2, what you accomplished. And 3, whether or not it was even a great day worth doing. Should I even got out of bed for what I did? I don't know. I don't know what I did, right? So, bottom line outcome, baseline outcome. Baseline outcome could just be, I met 3 new people, 2 of which I got their contact information for some date in the future, right? The good news about all this is you get to write your own hierarchies of outcomes. I'm not going to dictate those to you. I mean, I might dictate the perfect one, which is at 12:01, somebody walks in, buys the house, and you write the offer, and you represent them, get both sides. Probably a pretty perfect outcome, but the rest are up to you. That way, when you close the door on this open house, you know whether or not it was good. So I'm going to rewind a little bit to where this was born. I was coaching a team in New Jersey, and one of the agents, I was asking them all, they all did open houses over the weekend. I said, how was your open house? She said to me, oh, wasn't that good. I only met 2 people. And one of them, I'm writing an offer on something else. Yeah, you're hearing this, right? Like, you're hearing it how I heard it. She didn't hear it how she said it. Isn't that wild? I said, Claire, can I share that? I said that to her. Can I share that in today's office meeting? She said, yeah. Okay. I asked everyone in there, I said, hey, if you had an open house and only had 2 people, one of which is writing offers on another property, what do you think of that open house? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I would love it. But it was in front of her, see? Changed her perspective on whether or not that was a good open house. So I just want to kind of set the tone for hierarchy of outcomes. Now that you understand, like, are we clear on like what is a hierarchy of outcome in general? Cool. Here's the beauty. You can layer that on any activity. Who calls expireds in here? 1.3 people. Okay. Who calls anybody? All right, that's a little better. Whew, I should have took my camera. Look, they all raise their hand. All right. When you have a, quote, calling session or a follow-up session, right, have a hierarchy of outcomes. If I hear back from 5 people today, that was awesome. If I hear back from 10, that was awesome. Just know what you're trying to accomplish at any given time. What you're set out to do, have a hierarchy of outcomes. All right, so let's talk about open houses. Now that we know that, what's the goal? What is the goal of an open house? Maximum attendance. As far as like what they put me up here to talk about was how to generate more listings, right? That was the kind of the focus of this particular talk. So maybe it's, the goal of my open house in this context is how many neighbors can I meet, right? Now, while I am an optimist, I'm also a realist. Sometimes the two of those really have it out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm cool that I think somebody walking in this open house wants me to list their house, but I'm also a realist to know that's most likely not the case because most people that walk in open houses look to buy, not to sell, right? So how did I force that? Well, I went and met the neighbors who most likely aren't going to buy that house anyway, but they can see how I put on a house, open house, and say, man, when I want to sell, I want to make sure that guy does what he did for them and gets what he got for them, right? So that's maybe a hierarchy of outcome as it pertains to generating listings from an open house. I break this down into 6 days of the week. I don't know who here works 6 days a week, and I mean for real. Okay, cool. Like a little over half the room, and that's fine, by the way. I don't care how many you work. I'm just curious. I left Sunday off of here on purpose, but here's what Monday looks like for you guys. So if you're going to take notes on this, I've got Monday through Saturday, and I'm going to walk you through my process of turning open houses into listings, okay? Monday, all data entry from the open house I had last weekend. All entry for the open house I had last weekend, right? That's all the names and phone numbers and emails of the people I met, neighbors, open house attendees, you name it. That's when data entry happens. That's when all of your thank yous for meeting me at the open house can happen. If you didn't do it immediately, that's fine if you do it immediately, great. This is one step you don't have to do on Monday. But I will give you one caveat. If you're going to be present at the open house, be present at the open house. So don't try to like force other activities. Well, while I'm here, I'm going to send that quick thank you. You might miss somebody. You might miss somebody walking out the door. You could have talked to them instead of sending that thank you. Like that thank you on Monday morning is just as relevant as it would have been Saturday. Right? So don't sweat that. All right. So we good on Monday. All data entry, all your initial thank yous for meeting me and all that stuff. Pleasantries, if you will. Tuesday, you're identifying your next open house. And I have some qualifiers for that. How do you identify your next open house? Well, if the purpose is to meet the neighbors, make sure the open house is neighbor meetable. I think that's a term. In other words, don't go to a neighborhood that's 5-acre minimum property lot size. Your ability to meet many neighbors is greatly decreased by the size of a lot, right? So look for neighborhoods that don't have driveways that take 4 minutes to walk up and down, right? Because there are neighborhoods that have houses that are kind of close, but for some reason, they all like to build back on the lot, right? So make sure you can get through the neighborhood in a timely manner, aka door knocking, which is everybody's, who loves door knocking, by the way? I love that there's a few of you that love it. So here's my hierarchy, I'll give it to you guys. Open houses was my favorite thing to do. Door knocking was my second favorite thing to do in real estate. Farming, like geographic farming, was my third favorite thing to do. So if I could door knock about an open house I was hosting in my farm, I was in real estate heaven. And I'm not even kidding you, like, I love this stuff. I mean, I'm literally sitting here passionately talking to you about open houses. It should kind of give you an idea of how much I love this stuff. Fourth thing was business at work. It wasn't as fun. But this is. So make sure it's door knocking, okay? Do you have a new listing coming up? That's probably a good target for your next open house. If you don't have a new listing coming up, do you have a listing buddy in your offices or in your networks? Meaning, hey, if you ever get a new listing and you're unable to hold the open house or unwilling to, or you don't want to, whatever, please seek me out. I love holding open houses. I can do 3 a month, 4 a month, 2 a month, 8 a month, right? I got down to a point where I was doing 4 a week, and I only did them during the weekdays. I met more neighbors at early evening open houses than I would on weekends, right? If this is your goal, if your goal is to meet the neighbors, which it should be, for the sake of getting listings, hold these open houses for a couple hours on a weekday. So it's another side note for that. All right, cool. That's on Tuesday. Wednesday. Don't overlook the listing buddy thing, by the way. If you got a pal in the office or in your network or wherever, and they're down to send you, hey, I'm about to list this house if you want to do the open house, you get first crack, that's a great place to be, because then you don't have to do research on which listing to find. They come to you. Research on the house, that's Wednesday. So on Wednesday, you're going to research the neighborhood. You want, of course, recent comps. And then these are the 3 key numbers you're going to want for this research. Super easy. You want, in the neighborhood, you want the biggest and smallest house, meaning most square footage, least square footage. Okay? You want the most expensive and the least expensive. So you want most square footage, least square footage, most expensive, least expensive. Then you want the oldest house and the newest house built. Those are the 3 things you're going to want to know. And it'll be relevant here on Thursday, when I give you what we're doing on Thursday. So that's the biggest and smallest, the oldest and newest, most expensive and the least expensive. You're armed with this data now, because on Thursday, you're going to call that neighborhood. So that's Thursday. Do you guys know how to get neighborhood phone numbers? You good with that? You can use a system, a dialer? No? Okay. You can use any number of systems. There's Mojo, Redx, I don't know, Vulcan 7 maybe too. Either way, there's systems out there, and you just draw a map around the neighborhood like you do on an MLS search and say, give me all the phone numbers. Now, don't call them all, because half of them are on the do not call list. I mean, unless you got 20 grand to spare for a call. I wouldn't do that, though. Get the numbers and call them. What do you say? It's Jeff with Call Group. I'm going to be having an open house down the street from you on X day. You probably saw the sign go for sale. If not, it's going to send whatever, right? You just give them some dialogue that you're going to host an open house, and this is the key to the dialogue. I'm doing a neighbors-only preview 1 hour before the open house. You guys have probably heard this before, right? Cool. I'm going to put some finer points on the neighbor-only preview. Neighbors-only preview. That way, you're not in there with a bunch of strangers. It's just you and the other neighbors gauging condition, see if you think the seller's going to get their price, and I want to know your feedback on that home. Okay? So you're inviting them with purpose, not just be like, hey, come be weird and look at your neighbor's photos, or like whatever they want to come see. Be very specific about what you want them to see, and that you actually are going to be asking them for feedback. I can keep looking at this time, because like I said, I'll do this all day. All right. Thursday, we're calling them. Any guesses what we're doing Friday? Door knocking. Yeah. So door knocking, we have to talk a little bit about theatrics. Because on the phone, you don't have to have so much theatrics because they can't see you. If you think they can see you, well, 2 things. 1, you're wrong, and 2, you may need to see a doctor. The door, it's a little different. I knock on the door. Hey, I'm Jeff with Call Group Realty, or Call Group Residential. I'm hosting an open house at your neighbor's house down the street. This is the theatrics. Know where that open house is. Because when you point, you psychologically anchor them to a spot they are familiar with. They are now familiar with that spot. They now have familiarity with you, right? So if you can get them to a line that you know their neighborhood, they already open up more to you than they did a moment ago. I'm Jeff with Call Group Residential. I'm having an open house down the street at your neighbor's house. Did you see that sign go up? Now, psychological part number 2, I'm nodding my head yes. You see that sign go up down the street for that house for sale? It's very subtle, but I'm doing it. I want them to nod just like Eric's nodding at me. I didn't ask Eric to nod, but he's doing it. Or he's listening to some great music. I don't know. Yeah, keep going, Jeff. All right, so that's psychologically, we want to get them to bond with us. These are strangers, right? But face-to-face is so much better than on the phone. Here's the magic moment that does happen. I'm not even telling you that can happen. This absolutely happens. Oh, I think I talked to you yesterday. That's huge. I'm telling you, that bond right there is like threefold. One, I made the cycle out, hey, I'm down the street, you know, across the street from the park, or just 2 doors behind, 2 streets behind you. Know where that house is, by the way, when you're having this conversation. And then they say, oh yeah, I think I talked to you yesterday. Oh yeah, that's me. See, I told you, I promised the neighbor, promised the seller I'd be out here. Now you're holding a promise that you made that that guy didn't even know about. So now there's trust, right, at the door. They already have trust with this guy. Now I have trust with this person at the door. I have way more chance of inviting them and them showing up, okay? Great. So you're invited to a neighbor-only preview. We're doing that 1 hour before the open house so that we can show the neighbors without all the strangers, without all looking, whatever. I want you to come in, gauge the condition for me, give me some feedback, but more importantly, I'm taking a survey to see if the neighbors think he'll get that price for this home. You want to get a sense from them that, you know, does that price surprise you? You can ask that too at the door. Does that price surprise you? The beauty of that question is you don't lose. Oh yeah, I'm shocked it was so high. Oh, I can't believe it's so low. Right? It doesn't matter. So it's almost like an open-ended question without it being an open-ended question, because you can have further dialogue to, oh yeah, it is that high. Have you been checking how your value's been lately? Right? It just opens the door for so much more conversation. It wouldn't hurt to have some type of really cool drawing for the neighbors. Now, I'll tell you what to do if the neighbor wasn't home. We'll go over that in a minute. But have some type of drawing for the neighbors that show up. By the way, the neighbor's only thing, we're collecting all this stuff and we're going to give away blah to the neighbor. That out of a drawing. Whatever that thing is for you. I don't know your budgets or whatever. But just think about that as well. That has worked out for me very well. It's like a $100 Visa gift card you can get at wherever. That's what I would give out. That also helps garner attendance. So let's assume they're not there. What do you take? I used to leave, so you're familiar with door hangers, right? The little skinny things, a lot of times pizza places use those or whatever. I don't know if you know this, but you can get those with perforated bottoms, right? And so you get, I'm picturing in my head, so now you have to. A door hanger is skinny, rectangular, but at the bottom it's perforated, like about the size of a business card. And this is, at the bottom it just says your entry, right? And on the back you say, bring this with you to the thing, and that's your entry to this giveaway, right? So you should be very clear on that. The rest of the stuff above the perforation says you're invited. And it talks about what it is. Neighbors preview, this is the date, the time, the open house, the address, all that stuff, right? That's what you're going to leave if they're not home. All right, we clear up to Friday? Door knock. Anybody have an idea what happens Saturday? Anyone?
The open house.
Open house. Yeah, that one's easy. I don't have to talk about that one. You have the open house. Here's one of my biggest tips for actually at the open house. A lot of people talk about how do you, like, when there's so many people, how do you gather all their information if there's more than one person at the door and they're like lined up or whatever, right? I hear this a lot. So what I call it is directing traffic. How do you direct traffic so that I can talk to as many people as possible, even though 2 or 3 families walk in at once? One really fun way, I say great way because I invented it, but it's kind of self-serving, so I'll say fun way. A fun way to direct traffic is to send them on a, we call it scavenger hunt. Here's what I mean by that. Eric walks in, right behind is Miguel, you guys have your families with you. Hey, thanks for so much for coming to the open house. What's your name? Eric. Eric, nice to meet you. Listen, the sellers wanted to know, get some feedback on their, the bathroom in the master bathroom. Let me know if you think that's big enough, right? So now I've sent him off to go look at a feature. Now, although he's looking at the house, in the bathroom, he's like, I wonder what's up with this bath, right? Just thinking about that. But then Miguel comes in. Hey, Miguel, hey, listen, the seller really wanted to know what you thought about the view off the whatever. I'm sending Miguel somewhere else. And I'll ask you about it when we get back to the kitchen. How's that sound? And Eric's like, yeah, okay, great. So you're off looking at one place. You're off looking at another. I will then what I call recapture. Let them go look. I will recapture them in the kitchen. What did you think of that bathroom? Oh, yes, it was a little small. It was great. It's huge, whatever. Right? It doesn't kind of really matter. The idea was to direct traffic, still get that greeting in. Right? Cool. So how do you get their information? I'm so glad you asked. This is just me, and I don't even know if it's against this company's rules, so Tina, close your ears. I never say, the seller wants you to sign in. Ever. That's not me. And I don't take flyers. And I need to borrow somebody's flyer. This.
Yeah.
Right? I give you a flyer. This is it. I don't care what you say. This is where I'm at. This is what I've done by giving a client a flyer. This is all they're interested in, is this piece of paper towel, right? So, Jeff, what if they ask me for a flyer? Oh, that's okay. I say, yeah, we have digital flyers for the property. Would you like that emailed or text to you? We have digital flyers for the property. Would you like that emailed or text to you? Oh, no, that's okay. I'm just curious. All right, no problem. I don't, like, if they don't want the thing they actually just asked for, how much, I don't know, sincerity is there in their, like, interest in that home or purchasing another home, right? Like, be real. If they're actually looking for a house. So that's kind of more on the buyer side than the seller side. But the idea here is on the flyer, if you want their information and you feel like they're a valuable lead that could go somewhere, that's what I do at open houses. And I'll tell you guys this, when I visit open houses, close your ears, I put the flyers that are there in a drawer somewhere. Sorry, listing agents in this office that have your flyers there when I'm there at the open house. The flyers go in a drawer. I do not need those people distracted by a piece of paper. I want to talk to them. I want to gauge their interest, right? And I need to capture their info if I'm going to further this relationship. So I put them in a drawer. May or may not forget to bring them back out when I leave. That's a whole other thing, right? So that's on Saturday, okay? If you hold the open house on Sunday, just replace Saturn with Sun. Cool? It's that easy. All right, so then what do we do on Monday? Rinse and repeat. That's it. This is like, that's all there is to this, right? If you can build templates for the marketing part, right, the thing that you leave at the door, if you already have an actual flyer, like a printed one, well, you probably printed it from a PDF. Pro tip, text that PDF to yourself so that when somebody's there and said, yeah, just text it to me. Okay, cool, just pull it up, hit send, hit share, what's your number, boom, here, go, right? Have it ready for that open house, right? Get your materials ready. And that probably should go down on, let me look at my days here of the week. That should be Wednesday to Thursday, like have those flyers, the PDFs ready, the digital stuff. Make it on Canva, be super simple, whatever. Doesn't have to be anything awesome. Include as much information with withholding as little information as possible, right? I'm not one to withhold like a lot of info because I don't want to have a lot of random phone calls, but I also won't have all of the details in there because if they really are interested, they will ask further questions on that property, if that makes sense. Okay. All right, so is this helpful?
Yes.
Cool. Any questions on the details on any one of those days?
I have a question on the door number.
Yeah.
The one that you leave on the door.
Mm-hmm.
It has a little perforated. Are you on the back of that? Does that have the information for their email, phone number, et cetera, so that when they bring it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. So for those of you on Zoom, the question was, on the back of the perforation part where it says your entry, how do I know that it was their entry, right? Yeah, so I would use a Sharpie, because remember, only neighbors get this. Sharpie, name, address. Yeah. And by the way, what's your name?
Tanya.
Tanya, I'm Jeff, nice to meet you. So since you asked, I'm going to use you as an example. Don't miss the social media opportunity when Tanya wins that $100 gift card to show up at the door. You won $100 gift card. Can I get a picture real quick with you? With the thing? Yeah, hey, look, right, get it, and then share with them. Hey, giving away yet another $100 gift card. Lucky neighbor attends the preview only, right? Build that as well. Share that information with the other neighbors, right? So, since you talked about that, I want to go real deep because I have a few minutes. I'm so glad you asked that. That's a really good question. As you have the other entries, right? You can send them all like some type of note in the thank you note. By the way, Tanya won. Be sure to congratulate Tanya at 1, 2, 3. See? So that they're not thinking they were full of.
Yeah, right.
I won't say that one,
They weren't
but
really giving a gift.
that's right. Absolutely right. So don't miss out on that opportunity as well. Yeah. Any other questions on the details? I'm down to do it for the next 3.2 minutes. Any in the chat? Questions? I'll answer those. Yes?
Are you doing any of this on, like investment properties that typically maybe you won't host an open house? I mean, are you doing open houses on investment properties? Like ones that need to be rehabbed?
So you're saying on one that needs a lot of love? Well, okay, selfishly, no, because generally they stink. And I mean like,
Yeah.
and so not only would I not want that, I don't think the neighbors would want to come into a house that stinks and then they associate me with the stink. Like, I mean, as funny as it sounds though, right? Keep in mind, 08, Tina, 09, them houses stink.
They stink. A I was stunned.
Yeah. And how fun was that, showing those?
Not good,
To even the buyer that also wanted it.
correct.
They're like, I'll take it, but get me out of here. Yeah, they're bad, really bad. So, no, I would not, like, because a lot of people also don't have the foresight. They can't see what it could be. I think you would be actually doing a disservice. Yeah. Any others? Yes.
What's your policy on the signs? I didn't hear anything about signs.
Policy on the signs. Great question. So we'll finish off with this one. When you're identifying a house, I didn't talk about this qualifier, so I'm glad you asked. When you're identifying a house, make sure that the traffic, if you're trying to get generic traffic, right? Keep in mind that's for buyer side, where this was kind of a listing more focused conversation, but for buyer traffic, make sure there are some places where you could put directionals. For example, I'm thinking about where I live, and if you know where Holly Springs and Penny is, right? That's a lot of country road, and there is no sidewalks, and it's probably not the best. If you get to pick a place to do an open house, don't pick it somewhere like that. Pick it where there's traffic, like people, right? So back to your point, as many signs as you can, number one, legally place. Some cities have real restrictions. I don't know if that exists here yet. Yeah, okay, great. So some have a limit on how many you can place. Some have a limit on where you can place them. So go to the limit of your tolerance and the law. Yeah. Cool? Awesome. Well, look, a minute and a half left.
I love it.
One for you, Mr. Anderson.
Yes, Mr. Anderson.
How many properties did you guys sell last year? I mean, I know we started off with a listing, but I didn't think I heard you guys say how many properties the call group sold.
Oh, call group?
Yeah,
Sold,
Just shy of 900?
Yeah, it was like 840 something.
840.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Out of those.
600 were buyers.
600 were buyers and then the
200.
other were listed.
Yeah.
Just
Trying
for some context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lot
So-
of open houses.
Context for me, since you asked that question prior to being here, I used to lead a team in Northern California, and we started a farm with 122 houses. We grew that farm to 1,800 houses, and we had 20% market share in that farm. Because I never left that farm. Like, I would get business outside of the farm because the people in the farm would list their house with me and buy a house elsewhere. I'd get business elsewhere from selling the houses in the farm. Yeah, and it was all this way.
I have a question.
Yes,
Maybe I missed it, but you said that the door hanger was if they were not there on Friday.
at the door.
Otherwise, they're talking there, but if they were there.
Here's your
how
entry.
You just give them the door.
Yeah, I'm dropping these off, right, so they're there. I'm dropping these off, by the way, make sure you bring the stub with you. That's your entry to win a $100 gift, or in your case, a $10,000 gift card. You'd get them there. Yeah, keep adding zeros if you want to add people. That's a fact. All right, yes,
For door knocking on Friday, is there a specific window time hour that you found to be the most effective?
I love that question. Okay, the question is there a better time frame for door knocking than others? Having knocked over, I don't know if you're ready for this, 17,600 doors, okay? Well, keep in mind, it was an 1,800 farm and we would knock it every quarter, okay? No, that's the answer. Time of day didn't matter. It was 1 in 3 doors that would get open. No matter what, take you 30 doors, you get 10, right? Sometimes it takes you 20 doors to get 7 of them, but it's 1 in 3 was the average, no matter time, day of the week. It just blows your mind. Tuesday afternoon, really, you're home at 2, okay. Well, I would bet more people are home now, the work from home people, right? So just keep that in mind as well. All right, gotta get the,
I love it.
yeah. The only one thing I fear about going after Tina most is going after Emily, so I did
That's good. That's
get to go
good.
before Emily, because she's about to lay it down, right? So.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you guys
Let's
so
give 'em
much.
a round of applause.